Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Loremasters of the Absurd with your host, Loremaster Jeff, myself, Loremaster Eli. How you doing tonight, Jeff?
Great. I'm doing fantastic.
Listen, you sound great.
Yeah.
Uh, I,
hmm
I was thinking like, how do I want to open the banners? But I don't think so. I kind of
No,
want to get into it. I think we should just get into it. What do you think?
you know, there's certain things in life
Uh huh. Uh huh.
that that just attack your soul and everything that you are.
Right, right.
You just get done doing it and you're like, that was X amount of time of my life. Because
Hmm.
we're only here for a little while,
That's
we're only
true.
here. And I like to think of myself as, trying to maybe live my best life.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And this was counterproductive to that entire theory.
Listen, here's the thing, right? I would say between the two of us, right? I am
Are
interested.
the are the worst? Yeah. Yep.
Hold on. I'd say I am more interested in the supernatural. Willing to view the evidence. Um,
Sure. Yeah. Mhm.
whereas you are a little more
A
skeptical,
little more
right?
cynical. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We have there's been multiple episodes of this where my ghost rules. I have
Mhm.
you don't
Yeah.
believe in the ghost rules because you're a fool. Uh,
Well. Oh well.
but like
And they don't make any sense. So, I mean, that's
and one of my goals I've made in our friendship, one of my goals in life is to try to get you to not be so skeptical, to maybe start believe me, right?
okay.
And then I
But
found
this is
out
this isn't going to do it.
I know. Then I found out there's a movie came out that may be just the most ridiculous piece of dog shit ever made. And I was like, you know what? I was like, because Jeff and I are on a kick right now. We're on a kick and doing whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah. Pretty
And I
much.
and I when I found out that you had not seen this movie, I was like, oh, you gotta watch. I was like, we'll just do it on the show. Who gives a fuck?
Mhm.
We'll just talk about on the show. So people can hear what I can only assume will be a delightful reaction to come from you. So when Jeff and I we were having a conversation about ghosts, and I was like, oh man, have you ever heard of Zack Baggens?
I
And
had not.
you had
No,
not.
I have
You
not
had
heard of
not.
Zack Baggens.
And I went, oh, so you never saw the documentary called Demon House? And you went, no, no, I
No.
have not. So I
First off,
said,
I didn't realize this was a documentary until about halfway through. I thought it was just a bad horror movie.
oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it was
Oh, man.
I thought this was like a Blair Witch scenario,
Oh,
right?
no, no, this
Where
was
where
real.
they were like, oh yeah, it's found footage but you're like, no, it's just a horror movie or whatever. No, no, this guy is 100% serious
Yeah.
about this.
Oh, well, so just to set the stage for everybody, okay? For those of you that have not had the delight of seeing this, uh, spoiler alert, this movie came out 2019, a little outside of our purview, right? What it's about is in the early 2000s, you had an incident in Indiana where this house claimed to be possessed by a demon. Uh, it is actually considered the most uh, documented case by the government because child protective services were called in this family. The police were called multiple times. There was a hospital involved, and literally in their reports, CPS, the doctor's office, the police, they mentioned these paranormal incidents, not being able to explain it and not blaming the family, like blaming these paranormal incidents. That's the
Yeah,
first time
yeah.
that's happened since like the 1800s. It was crazy. You had multiple doctors, police officers from the local police department, two child protective service agents who vouched like, "Oh my God, this is happening in this house. These paranormal activity." Right. I remember this case was happening in real time. This showed up in the papers in it was like 2009 to 2013, I think it was. I remember this happening. I was following it, right? And the family ended up leaving, and like people weren't really using the house anymore. They didn't know what was going to happen. The case kind of went quiet. During this time, there's a little popular show called Ghost Adventures for you that know, which most people call it the Bros versus Ghost, because you basically had three frat boys, led by Mr. Zack Baggens, who would go into these haunted places and be like, yo, ghost, I'll fuck you up. I'll kick the shit out of your haunted home. I'll give a fuck. Like, come on, come fight me, ghost. Or like they'd be like walking and they go, oh my god, bro, did you see that? Just feel that ghost just touched me, bro. Like it was the most overacted, overreacted, most ridiculous show in the world. Then it comes out in like 2016 that Zack Baggens was buying this house because he was going to do a documentary and to collect evidence uh, to prove a demon or paranormal existed. Now, Jeff, I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of trivia in on here tonight because I know this might be your new most favorite movie, right?
Yeah, for sure.
He bought this house in 2016. There was a lot of people who are interested now. We're kind of excited to see this. It took 3 years for them to film this, and they stated it was because numerous staff and employees either quit or were fired during the shoot.
Yeah,
and they say it all had to do with the haunting.
Which the firing thing I didn't really that seemed weird to me. It's like you have to fire somebody because it's haunted. Like it didn't.
Yeah. Hey, listen.
Yeah.
When demons are possessing your people, just fire them, get rid of them, right?
Just get rid of them.
This just bolstered the community. Just bolstered it. People were like, "Oh my god, this is crazy." And then I remember in 2019 they announced, "Oh, this movie's coming out. You could stream it." And little old Eli one night paid us $3 to stream this.
No.
And had the most absurd night of my life. And I remember thinking to myself, one day, since I was tricked into watching this, basically, I too will trick a fool.
It's just like the shittiest Ring ever. Yeah. Like, is that what, like this?
Yeah, it's like the Ring. I'm just forcing people to watch the tape.
Like, yeah, you don't die. You just want to kill yourself after this shitty fucking movie.
And I was like, what am I gonna do with all my thoughts and the experience of watching this movie? And then came our conversation, last week. I was like, we should just watch it, talk about it on the show.
Yeah. I'm just giving you a warning. You're now banned from picking any topics that we cover on here. So, at least for 3 months.
Okay, fair enough. So basically, this documentary, swish, swish, swish. They tell the backstory of the house. They show his ghost hunting stuff in it. Whatever. And they kind of them investigating, and then kind of like the ending. So, Jeff, before we get heavily into the conversation, I've 3 questions for you.
Okay.
Question number 1: do you feel closer to believing in ghosts and demons than you did before you watched it?
No, I'm actually the opposite. I'm further away, if that's possible.
Okay. And 2, was this your first time watching this?
It was. Yeah, I'd never even heard of this for good reason until you suggested me watching it.
So you never watched Ghost Adventures on Discovery Channel?
No, I had no idea what that even is. Like,
did you ever watch Ghost Hunters?
I've heard of Ghost
Hunters on Sci-Fi. Like they were like the real group, and then came out these guys.
First off, if you're on Sci-Fi, you don't have any credibility.
Well, this was before Sci-Fi got bad. That show started before Sci-Fi. Got bad. In all fairness to the Ghost Hunters.
Yeah.
But Ghost Adventures, with their nonsense, they were on Discovery and Travel Channel right from the beginning.
Wow. Yeah. What's the third question?
Third question. Hey, what do you think of this movie, Jeff?
Oh. Well, like I said, literally from till about halfway through. First off, I thought when he started talking, I thought this was Andy Samberg and this was some kind of like some kind of spoof movie. Okay. Because he starts the first couple things he starts talking about was he had this dream, right? And he's like, I'm a spirit hanging out with other spirits, right? And I had a dream of a 12-foot goat man spraying liquid on me or something. And I'm like, I was like, this is a joke, right? I'm like, this isn't serious. Like they're making fun of these types of movies, And I thought that's what it was. I thought it was either a spoof, like a movie spoof, or like an actual, just like a Blair Witch situation where it's like, oh yeah, this is found footage. Because then they start showing stuff, and I'm like, is this like for real? Like that, And the family was just the whole situation was just awful. Like it was just bad, and everything was so like the way they edited it, they attempted to piece things together, but you could tell that nobody had any real story about anything. Like even what they managed to like super glue together in the editing room still didn't make me think 1 second that any of this was real, because like they interviewed, like he buys the house, they get there and there's like those squatters or whatever,
Yeah.
and that one guy's just rambling inanely and he's like, oh, this guy knows about stuff, and he's like, like he's just saying, I'm like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? Like this guy is literally saying nothing. You know what I mean? He's like, no, he for sure knows about demons. Whatever, you know? Oh my god! And it, just the whole way through, from start to finish, every single thing about this movie was just the biggest. Like just when you think like, oh, okay, well this is stupid. Guess what? Something else comes along and tops whatever it was.
Okay.
So like what? So yeah, it starts off right. Like he buys the house.
Right.
And he starts interviewing the people, right?
Right.
And then at one point he interviews the family, and then the small child was in the hospital and he walked up the wall or something.
That is actually documented by doctors, a child psychologist, and CPS.
That he walked up the wall backwards.
Yes.
Okay.
That is actually documented. I'm not saying it's real or not, but that is documented in government forms.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Like that's what I'm saying. Like there's the weird thing about this case, right? Is it's a weird case. The real family who this happened to, the actual core family, will say, did not have much to do with this movie.
Yeah.
They didn't really want to talk to the beginning. Then they're like, well, the studios like talk to us for money, but like they never.
His excuse for that was like, oh, they're gonna talk. They're talking to another
Which
studio.
I really think it was just like I think it's kind of like they had a lot of eyes on them during this. Like they almost lost their kids, and like I kind of think they just wanted to like, I don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah.
And like he can't be like, oh, you got to. So then he found all these people who was connected to the house in the last 50 years, in the past and the future.
Yeah. And like, none of them shed any light on anything.
No,
they were just
like squatters. Like what's weird, like the city knew squatters living in it, and like the one lady was like, there ain't fucking nothing here.
Yeah.
And then her like boyfriend squatter was like, no, she lied to you.
Bam, Alabama. Like he like seriously, the guy sounded like he's on drugs, right? He's like just randomly just saying random stuff. Not one sentence in this movie that the squatter guy they interviewed made any sense. Not one sentence. There wasn't one time.
There was one. The last sentence he says before they quit talking to him is, I'll tell you everything I know, but we gotta make a contract first.
Well, yeah, he did say that. So well,
and then you know what's weird? They didn't talk to him the rest of the movie.
No, they're like, whoa, we don't want to know it.
And then they found all these people connected, and like there was the one family I thought was a little interesting. Like she's like, oh, my brother killed himself here, and like,
yeah.
But then like they're like they felt uncomfortable, they wanted to leave, and then they're like 3 weeks later, her daughter tried to kill herself, and they thought it was because she was possessed, so they had her exorcised. It's like, well, that's a big fucking jump.
And the other thing is that priest was complete garbage. Like he's delivering the exorcist rites like he's talking on a talk radio show. Like he was just like, well, we exorcise the demon. Like that. Like I'm part of your religion is conviction, and you have no conviction. How can you possibly hope to exorcise this demon? And then he's like, oh, I fell off my bike.
The demon was following me, and he knocked me off my bike.
Pushed him off his bike. Like,
you know what's weird?
That was and they spent like 10 minutes talking about it. I'm like, he just fell off his goddamn bike. Like,
so what's weird is the demon that was supposed to be living in this house was a giant goat man, and that psychic literally told him this is like a level below Satan. And it's like a guardian demon. It's all this shit. And really, it just did like the pettiest shit.
Right. It didn't do it. Like it pushed the security guard on the ice.
He's like, well, he was a police officer. He was the police
the police officer.
Yeah. They like knocked him on ice, knocked the one guy off his bike.
Made
one doctor go into organ failure, which
I
have some trivia for you. Do you want it now? Or do you want to do it later when we talk about this doctor fellow they brought in?
We might as well just do it now because we
So
can talk about
at
that
what
dummy
point
too.
he brings in so I will say for a documentary about covering the most documented haunted house in America since probably Amityville, right? There's 4 pieces of evidence in this movie. One of them is this guy, and like there's other stuff, but like I'm not counting it as evidence. There's 4 evidence pieces of evidence for this demon.
Mhm.
One of them is they brought this guy in who's talking about like these radio wave spikes means there's a ghost nearby or whatever.
The
Magnetic spikes.
yeah. Yeah,
And
I'm
you,
like, well, first off, why are demons magnetic? That doesn't make any
right.
sense.
And you just like watch him like walk around.
And he's like,
And
oh, I heard a dog. Oh,
yeah, oh yeah. At one point he claims he heard a dog.
And like the editing and stuff on this didn't help either because so he's like, I heard a dog, and they cut back to the family, and that lady's like, I heard a dog. like, why did you slow that down and do it like that?
Right. So and there's some other.
That's the same lady who's like, you kicked me.
Yeah. But like, so like they call back to what this other person told him. But so maybe there's 5 pieces of evidence in this movie. We'll talk about that. So first we'll talk about this guy, right? So anyway, so he's measuring these spikes, and then they're like he gets confused and starts wandering around the house, and then like there's some other stuff going on, but he then at like the end of the movie, finally like he went into massive organ failure, and he's like, I was perfectly healthy, and I went into massive organ failure, and all my organs are shutting down because of this demon, and the doctors don't know what's wrong with me or how to fix me, right?
Yeah,
and that's what the last you know about this doctor. Well, a little trivia for you: some folks were kind of interested to see what happened to that doctor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were looking online, and they found he had a GoFundMe page.
Wow.
Raising money for his medical bills, because apparently whatever type of doctor he is, he was not.
Well, he's not like a medical doctor. He's
No.
like a scientist doctor. Like
right,
yeah,
and he was not getting paid very well.
Mhm.
So his
did you see his place where his office where they interviewed
That's
him?
true.
It's like,
That's true. His GoFundMe.
plus, I don't think there's a big demand for guys that go hunting ghosts with fake magnetic.
That's true. That's true. That's true. But his GoFundMe mentioned nothing about organ failure.
Yeah.
What it literally states is he had a swollen prostate that has swollen so much it prevented his kidneys from sending urine to his bladder.
Mm-hmm.
So
just causing organ because so then your kidneys are gonna fail because they can't. You know what I mean?
No, nothing failed. He just
really
he had a swollen prostate that his kidneys were getting clogged.
Well, I'm saying like his kid when he went to the hospital, that's what happened. Like his body started shutting down because his kidneys weren't working because his prostate was too big.
So,
but it must have been the demon. So his demon stuck his finger up his ass and swelled up his prostate.
Yep, his prostate zapper. But that was
a dog. A dog.
that was a big piece of evidence in this movie to prove that this demon was in it.
Did they ever fucking check for like radon or anything in this house? It's possible.
They literally
it's completely saturated with radon or something.
Literally, the first 10 minutes of the movie, which there's a line and they blow over it real quick. That when he buys the house because of the law in Indiana,
something about the home inspector, right?
Yep. And there was black mold in the house. The heat was leaking carbon dioxide in the house at a high level.
Because I remember that part, and then they later said about the home inspector got cancer or whatever it was.
Yeah,
like,
they're like, was it from inspecting these houses, or was it the demon?
Well, obviously it was a demon. So
because you figure, he was inspecting houses with like mold and stuff.
Is this a metaphor for cancer? Is that like
demons?
A demon is cancer? Is that what they were getting at here? I mean, I don't know.
Maybe. Wow, I don't know.
That would be a much better movie if.
Well, hold on. I think you're getting too far. I think you're just counting the other evidence.
Documentary.
The other evidence that the film.
What else do we have? What else?
Let's. So that the first evidence was this doctor who the demon enlarged his prostate.
Yeah.
Okay. Evidence number 2 was the EVPs, right? So I believe there was 3.
Okay.
There was the in the beginning when they brought that woman in, whose brother killed himself in the house, and it was like the EVP was like, "Hey, Latoya," which wasn't her name. It was the original family who lived there. There was that EVP, right? There was the EVP when he was like, "I heard dogs," and you hear that weird like blah, blah, blah noise, right?
Yeah.
And then the third most terrifying EVP, which for those that don't know, EVP is a electronic voice phenomena. People record ghost voices, basically demon voices. Was when the
At the
Zack
end.
Baggens boarded himself up into this
so he
house.
boards himself in the house at the end, and he's going to spend the night. And by the way, once again, when they're like boarding up the house and that board goes by and his face is like, like I'm like, why did they do that shit? Like, you know what I'm saying? Is it really like this thing is already ridiculous enough? You don't have to put stupid shit like that in there to make
They're trying to make it terrifying.
Wasn't even he looks stupid, and that's why. Like, are you 100% sure that this wasn't like a spoof on like?
No, this is real. This is real.
You know that new Netflix series where they do documentaries, but they're like comedy documentaries.
Yeah.
This wasn't like one of those.
This was real. This was real.
Okay.
So at the end, when I can, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but what I can only describe as Zack Baggens fighting the demon force. When the fight first starts, you hear this like. The first time I watched it, I thought he farted on camera before I realized what was happening. But it's like this like weird like burp noise.
Well, like that's the thing too. It's like conveniently the camera's all out of focus when it's like, you know what I mean? It's like there's so much nonsense in this thing that's like that's like every time you see a picture of Bigfoot, it's out of focus. It's like, what do you do? Like, you know, like,
but you had those 3 EVPs. Did that not terrify you?
No, those were all dumb. Like,
not even like the demon noises.
No,
or when it said, "Hey, Latoya."
No,
none of the EVPs scared you. You get a little tingle up your neck.
No, there was actually a couple of them, I think, right? Like, because
those are the 3 EVPs. Yeah. They showed some ones that the other people did, but I say for evidence for our sake is the ones that Zack Bilbo Baggins himself came up with.
Got it.
So just so the folks listening on record, they understand.
So that's 3, right? That's the 3 things.
Well, I've done 2 pieces of evidence. I've done the doctor.
Got it.
That hasn't convinced you that demon was real.
No.
I've done the EVPs. That hasn't convinced you that was real.
No.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, how about this? What about the third piece where when the doctor of magnetism, Magneto, I think his name was, was like he kept like while he was playing, he kept saying, "Oh, I don't feel good. I don't feel good. I feel nauseous. I don't feel good."
Yeah, it's like, I haven't peed in 2 weeks, but I'm sure it's this demon that's causing my problems. You know
like, at what point they're like they all like because there's another piece of evidence we'll get to, but while this other thing's going on, everybody's like concentrating on Zack Bilbo Baggins
when he's getting aggressive.
But for some reason they have they have a camera set up in the floor following the doctor who's like they're like he's wandering around confused, which really just looks like he's checking rooms. But they're like
he just had his like thing out. He's like,
and then they catch this black shadow like fly across this doorway, and then they're like, then he confusedly walks over where the shadow just looks around. He goes, "It doesn't feel good here," where that shadow was. Did that not convince you?
No.
What did you think of that shadow?
I thought that it was probably just a car driving by the window or something outside.
Oh no, that was like inside. Like definitely wasn't anybody's thumb.
Well, I mean, it probably wasn't. You're right.
So that didn't even like scare you. That didn't even make your insides go, "Oh man." Nope. What about the doctor being confused? Like none of that. That whole situation.
I thought he was confused from the beginning because he didn't make much sense when he was talking to start. So he really didn't have a whole long way to get. The demon did have much work to do to get that guy all confused. That's all I'm saying. What really got me was when Zack Baggens started being aggressive.
Well, that's the next piece of evidence is the aggressions and possessions that occurred. Zack, a lot of people, you find out were possessed by this demon. The main family who the news was all about, like she had to be exorcised. And then Zack started feeling like he was being possessed, and there were multiple scenes of him being like, the aggression formed up, and I lunge at the whoever he's talked to, but it really looks like it's like those college bros in bars when they're like psyching somebody out. And they're like, you want
It
some
looked
of
like
this?
it looked like he was in a Thriller video. He's like, you know what I mean? Like that was his like that was the fakest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like
You know
you
what
know
the
what I
best
mean?
part
Like
is?
that was so fake, it's ridiculous.
He's like, it forced me to lunge at it. Okay, so let's say you're possessed by this grand demon, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it forces you to lunge at somebody. First off, he never lunges at anybody while they're looking.
Right. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then if
He's
they
just
turn
like
around, he just puts his hand in the pocket and like walks away. And I'm like,
he's a
what kind
sneaky
of demon is this? If it's
Sneaky Pete. That's who this
Sneaky
is.
Pete.
Sneaky Pete the demon. So
so he's like fighting with this, like where like he's feel like he's getting possessed the whole movie, right?
yeah.
Then his one cameraman,
Yeah.
one of the other compelling evidences. So we're on number 4 now, right?
Mhm.
Another compelling evidence was this cameraman was like he was like filming. And he's like, I don't feel good. He's like, I gotta lay on the floor, and then like they're all like go to do other stuff. And then like he went and snuck in the basement, and he almost moved like a cartoon robber, where like his
Yeah,
friends just like stand there and look at their phone. He was like, "Ugh." And then they're like, he was like down in the basement. Now here's the part that fucks me up about this. Right? They supposedly have cameras set up all throughout the house.
yeah.
And they're
Except
like,
where all the action's happening.
right. And they're like, oh, we found him later in the basement laying on the ground. Did no one record that?
No. Nope.
So then they're like, oh, we're done for the night. And they take him back to his hotel. In the hotel, he's like starts flipping out and punching doors and like yelling at the demon in the elevator because it followed in the hotel.
Yeah.
Apparently, the demon will not leave the elevator for whatever reason.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's isn't that. I thought that was in that. Isn't that somewhere in like the Demonomicon where the way to trap a demon is put him in an elevator?
I didn't know that.
Isn't that
Is that a demon rule?
Yeah,
Are we making demon rules now?
Rule.
That's a demon
well,
rule.
Possibly.
Okay. And so they finally get him calmed down enough. They take him back to their room and they're talking. And he's like, I saw the demon. And they're like, what it looked like? He went like a real tall goat man, which freaks out Zach because in the beginning of the movie, he tells you he had a dream before this happened.
But he
that
never told
goat
anybody.
Man was breathing smoke into his mouth and he didn't tell anyone.
Nobody. I didn't tell anybody, even though Goat Man is literally the one thing that almost everybody ever talks about demons or draws demons is a Goat Man.
Like, and then, which they don't show this because apparently they weren't filming this part. The next day,
I mean, why would they? They're only doing a documentary, you know?
Right? I mean, fair enough. The next day, they had that camera back at the house, and he tells Zach like, "Why don't you just break that mirror and cut your own throat?" And Zach fired him for that.
Yeah, I mean,
because he refused to get help.
Yeah.
And then they're like, he may still be possessed or something because like the movie, they're like, look at these pictures he took online where he looks demonic and he tattooed 666 on his hand. He still has the demon in him.
Like he has some kind of weird like because I looked up his stuff and he's like some kind of weird band or something. Like, you know what I mean? He's like okay, well, apparently Ozzy Osbourne went to this house too or something. You know what I'm saying? Or every metal band from the 1980s went to this house ahead of time. Like,
right. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense to me so far. So did any of that, those possessions, the aggressions, that didn't get you believing?
No, it did not. Sorry.
Wow.
That didn't. They were not as they were not presented as maybe convincing as they could have been, you know.
Wow.
If they'd have got somebody who is a better actor, maybe, but
they weren't acting. This was real life. It's a documentary, bro.
Well, it looked fake. I don't know.
Well, you know what? Surely though, the last main piece of evidence this movie presents, this had to convince you. Because the end of the movie is Zach decides that he needs to do his all-night investigation, but he doesn't trust himself not to leave the house. So naturally, like one would, he hired people to basically trap him in the house, board him up in with what I can only describe as the flimsiest particle board I have ever seen. So that he is.
They ain't paying no $40 a sheet for plywood. Get out of here! Like, come
on.
The
first day, then that sheriff shows up that the demon knocked on ice.
Yeah,
and was like, and he was like, which he was like, I wouldn't do it. Then he was like, well, he's like, you're like, I'm gonna be out here. Like, there's an issue. Like, we can call EMS, right? or like fire or whatever, which
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, oh, there's this rundown house that boarders living in. You're bolting yourself in. Emergency could happen. Like we're gonna have access to get in and get you out. And he's like, he didn't want me go in there to trap myself with the demon.
Yeah, that's not what it was.
That's not how that works. But that's what he did. So he trapped in there. So it shows he's in the house from 8:30 p.m. to about 1 o'clock in the morning. And he's like the first like 10 minutes. The actual ending itself is only like 15 minutes, right? 10 minutes of it is him like walking around with all the lights on the house, like, I'm afraid to turn the lights off. And then he finally turns the lights off and like goes, sits on a bed after he like kind of wanders around for a little bit. And he's just sitting there. And like that's when he's like looking down the hallway. You hear the fart noise. Then there's a camera he has in the corner, looks at him. He stares at the wall and goes, no, get away from me, demon. Don't you come out of the wall, demon. Get away from me. And then throws his camera at the wall.
No, because like the camera on the bed next to him, which once again, so the camera on the bed is facing the doorway and the one up in the corner is facing down. You can see the doorway, but they never showed any footage of that shadow passing over the one in the corner.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, only the one that was on the bed out of focus.
That's correct. Yeah. Well, they probably couldn't get the footage because he threw the camera at the wall to stop the demon from coming through the wall, which I guess apparently worked. And then he jumps up and starts like knocking furniture down, screaming, get me out. And like very easily pushes the plywood out the window.
Yeah. Yeah. He was just like,
and they're like, he's like, that's it. He was like, I fought the demon. And then he proceeds to tell you that this demon caused him to get some kind of eye disease.
Yeah.
And he can either get surgery to fix it where he has a chance of going blind, or he can wear prism glasses. He chose to wear prism glasses, so this demon almost took out his sight. And he was like, he didn't want the world, the demons, to be unleashed, this demon to be unleashed on the world. So he had them break down the house, knock the house down, bury the pieces in a landfill, except for the pieces he kept in a storage unit.
Yeah, in storage unit. Yeah, and also, so that whole thing doesn't make any sense because like the one portion when they're in the basement and there's like that dirt portion under the steps, right? Yeah, and apparently they consulted some experts and the one guy's, well, I think it was the priest, but he's like, it's necromancy or whatever. They found like the most random assortment of shit. It was like
it was a fucking
pan,
rubber ball, candle, and
panties, like it's, you know what I mean, like all this shit that was probably just in the basement or whatever, you know. And he's like, it's necromancy. And then the other thing that I didn't really understand is like that lady that like he's like
a psychic friend.
He's remotely contacting the demon. Yeah. And it just shows a cell phone. I'm like, did she fucking call it on the cell phone? What do you like? How do you remotely contact the demon? Like,
here's what's crazy. I'm glad you brought her up because here's the other crazy kind of evidence. The end of this movie, like
she got murdered or whatever, right? Like,
well, yeah. Basically, they're like everybody that touched this movie was cursed
except Zach.
Well, no, he was his eyes.
You got the eye, yeah.
He has to wear glasses now. Like every person was cursed. Like they're like, oh, that house inspector got cancer from the house.
Yeah. Yeah, they were doing like a rundown at the end.
That the doctor of magnetism, Dr. Magneto.
Magneto.
The demon caused him to have organ failure.
Yeah.
His one friend became a devil worshiper and got 666 tattooed on his hand. And is into quote unquote dark stuff. Which is very good documentary language.
Yeah.
His friend who remote psychicked in was murdered by her husband. And they're like, house cursed her. I think that, and then they're like, a bunch of people quit.
Yeah.
And didn't want to be around the house anymore. That was
the other voice thing I was thinking of was whenever she called the demon on the cell phone. Remember?
Yeah, they had her on speakerphone talking to the demon or whatever in the house.
Yeah. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
And she's like, she wants you, Zach. It brought you here. Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna say something.
Couldn't you just send a text message? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
my thing is, right, if say a demon really does want to do battle or hurt somebody, This guy,
This demon like didn't care. Like he was just
this
like,
guy who wore sunglasses inside every
yeah.
frame,
Uh-huh.
including night shots.
Yep. Yep.
This guy, that's
Maybe
who
he
the
was already
demon wants
having
to fight.
vision problems, you know?
No, how dare you say that? How dare you
Yeah.
say that? It was the demon.
This is the demon.
It was
Yeah,
the
well,
demon guy.
you got me there, I
It
guess.
was the
I don't
demon.
know. I can't retort that, so
Listen, all I know is every person associated with this movie, look what the demon did to
yep. There's some people that just quit. Like, surely it wasn't the fact that they're like, why am I wasting my life with this clown? Like, you know what I mean? It had to be
him.
the demon.
It's like the winter in Indianapolis. There were squatters in this house. It
Yeah.
does not smell good.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, they let these like one teenage girls come in, and the one teenage girl like went to commit suicide. She's like, I don't remember why. They killed
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, maybe it was because she had to talk to Zack Baggens. That's probably what. Yeah, and then like they're doing the exorcist on her, and she's just like looking around waiting for a cue, and then she's like flops over.
it like it. You know what's crazy is like I have watched episode. You know, because like when I especially like when I was in college, like my friends like they used to do marathons on Friday nights of Ghost Adventures, his show. And like we would all watch it because it like sit around drinking stuff because it was the most ridiculous shit. And it was funny. Like these college frat bros going to fight ghosts,
Yeah.
you know. But like there were more evidence of stuff in this TV shows than what this whole documentary was.
Wow. Wow.
It was just crazy because it was like an actual interesting case. And then like he did this. That was good.
Well, that's
Hey,
what's weird. Is like, so this was not a ghost, right? It was a demon.
they
Like,
believe it was a demon. Well,
not a
he
ghost.
said it was a demon. At the time this was going on, a lot of people nicknamed it the demon house because they thought it was because like those kids were acting possessed and like there's all this weird stuff. And then
Yeah.
like the Catholic Church investigated it, and like it's very hard for the Catholic Church to approve an actual exorcism. Like they do not do it lightly. And initially when this happened and they got involved and like the original priest that did it, they approved an exorcism. Whoever they got the second time around, I think they said that was a Methodist preacher, the one that wrecked his
Yeah.
bike and the demon knocked him off his bike or whatever.
Well, no, was it the same guy?
No, it was a different
No, it
preacher. It was the
wasn't.
second preacher they brought in.
So that guy in the documentary wasn't the guy that actually did the exorcism. Then.
No, they had a couple tapes of him,
Okay.
but the first guy, like the guy that did the initial exorcism, like he didn't want to be part of the
Yeah,
documentary.
because that one that was in this one was bad. Like he's
Listen,
like,
you have a demon knock you off your bike.
Yeah, well, I'd be upset about it. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah,
but he just wasn't like, he had no conviction. Like I said, he was just like, well, there's a demon. And then he's like, yep, that girl's possessed.
Okay. Which I feel like you know, if you have enough proof that you think this is happening, I'd be like, what the fuck?
But like, you know, like, is it really that hard to get the Catholic Church to approve an exorcism?
Because yeah, it's very hard.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
No,
I feel like in today's modern age, like if you're like, I want an exorcism, it gets to a certain point and they're just like, all right, I don't care.
No,
like,
it's actually very hard because of what happened with Annalise in like the 40s, that German girl, where like back then they were just willy-nilly like, all right, you know, and then that girl died. They didn't she ended up like dying from it, and like they got taken to court, which was like the first time that happened, which was like insane. So ever since then, like their exorcism office and stuff, like you have to go through it was like they showed it in Exorcist very well. Like you have to go through like child psychologists, have all these medical tests done. There has to be like all these other steps before they'll even consider it, before they even review it. You have to have all this documentation together. And I don't think it's like a thing to be like, we have to be responsible. I think it's more of a, well, we don't want to get sued again because some kid died.
Yeah. We get sued for a bunch of stuff. So we
yeah,
don't want to,
especially nowadays.
No.
So, but yeah, so like none of that movie made you think it was
Nope. Unfortunately, Zach didn't do a very good job.
So. Okay, let me ask you this: would you have spent the night in that house?
Probably. Well, no, probably not, because it's gross. Like it's not like, I don't care about the demon. The plate, like he had a TV. Why was he watching TV? Like why do you have a TV in there?
There's probably no electric in it. Oh no, he had the lights on.
Yeah, light.
He probably didn't have TV hooked up.
Play some PlayStation. What are you doing with your life? You know,
that's true. Like the demon come up and like, hey, like shut up, I'm trying to beat like
Yeah,
God
like
of
he's
War, like
playing
no
like
way.
Street Fighter and fucking he's like, oh,
Yeah.
the demon made me lose that match. Like,
Well, I just think it's crazy.
the
Like the
demon
fact,
broke my controller.
I just still think it's crazy. Like that demon's coming out of the wall, and he's like, "I'm gonna throw my camera at it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stop it."
Yep.
And he's like kicking the bed, sliding over the bed. I would, you know what, I said, I am not as skeptical as you. I like to look at the evidence, and be like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
interesting. But like watching this, I was like, I don't think there was anything in that house.
Well, I mean,
Or
it is weird that there are like some actual documented
right.
things, you know.
Let me
But
rephrase that. Whatever he did in that house, I don't think was real.
my problem with like all of this stuff is like we still don't fully understand like the human mind
Right.
and how it can translate and manifest things. We don't understand that. So there's no way that you can apply an external force to something that you don't really fully understand. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So like the perception of this kid walking up the wall backwards. Maybe he was just walking up the wall backwards and you just don't see that all. Like somebody was holding his hands and he was walking up the wall backwards because they didn't really specify that he ran off by himself and walked up the wall backwards.
No,
You know
they
what
were
I'm
all
saying?
watching. That's why they all put in the report.
Well, whenever they showed it in this documentary, the reenactment, the guy was holding his arms while he walked up the wall backwards.
Oh no! See, in the if you look at the actual report, like they were all standing there and like he was having the fit, and then he like started doing it, and then a bunch of them were like, "Fuck this," and left.
Yeah.
Like once he
Yeah.
started doing it, like that child psychologist is like, "Nope." No, which I feel like if I was a psychologist or like a doctor or whatever, they're like, "Oh, this patient's freaking out, a guy in there," and like your patient's like walking up walls and like saying demon shit. I'm like, "No, I can't treat him. Sorry,
Yeah. Yep.
can't help you. Your
Yeah. It's a
kid's dead
weird.
now."
Yeah. I mean, that's why I said there's weird stuff like that, though. That's
Yeah.
like, well, okay. I'm not a complete non believer. I don't know. It seems weird.
Have
You
you ever
know?
seen a ghost?
No. No, I don't.
I have.
Really?
Yeah, for real. Not even joking.
Okay. Where at?
You want me to tell a story?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
Not even joking. Not making this up.
Okay. Yeah.
If I'm lying, I'm crying. I shed tear.
Mhm.
When I was in high school, I was staying with some family who owned this house. The bottom part of the house was the original house that the one family member grew up in. Uh, and then when they married the other family member, they were given their house and then they built onto it. Basically built off like the sides, put a upstairs on it to make it a bigger house, because it was like kind of a small house.
Mhm.
So the one summer, they needed some assistance. So I basically lived with them for the summer, right? And at the time, they had a child who's about 2, 3 years old and was just starting to talk. And at the about the beginning of the summer, he started talking about he was always playing with the good guy, and like it was like an imaginary friend basically. I like the way he talked about it. It was like kept calling it the good guy, and he would say the good guy was playing with him, whatever. And then he got tired of he didn't like the guy, so he changed his name from the good guy to the guy. Didn't like playing with him. And then like if he was like by himself, he would just like burst out screaming and start calling him the bad guy and said the bad guy was mean to him. Bad guy yelled at him. Confused, like it was creepy as shit. I'm like, he's just a kid, watch
Mhm.
something on TV. And then he started pointing at this, like their stairwell that goes up the stairs, started pointing at this vent at the bottom of the stairs. He's like, bad guy lives in there. That vent went into a utility room where like their furnace and hot water tank
Yeah.
was, right?
Yeah.
It was like basically under the steps. And that's where that vent went into. Just thought maybe heard noise, whatever. Didn't think anything of it. And that kind of went on all summer. I had a little part-time job while I was doing this, and typically I worked late at nights. That way I could use their cars because they obviously work during the day. Then they'd be home, take care of the kids. I could work my part-time job, and uh, it worked out perfect. So the one night I get back, it was like around midnight or so, and it was like on a weekend, and we enjoyed watching UFC, and it was like a fight night. I typically go late, and when I got home, the family member was like, "Well, hey, like, you want to throw a pizza in while you watch this?" I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Yeah, cool." So, like, I went back, got pizza, and like I thought I heard something or whatever. I was like, whatever, and I was like, "That's late at night, whatever. I don't care." The room where their freezers and stuff was across from this furnace room. Like I thought I heard a noise in there. I wasn't really sure what I heard. To be honest with you, I don't know. But I was like, whatever. Didn't think enough and took the pizza out. So we're eating pizza, watching the fights, and like no shit, we're sitting there and I watch a cup. My cup kind of moved to the corner of their like coffee table. And we're like, that's fucking creepy. But it's like, oh, it's sweated or the fan because it was almost empty. Maybe the fan caught it. Whatever. Didn't think anything of it. Um, then it was getting to the point where their kid was refusing to sleep alone. But he said the bad guy kept waking him up. Didn't think anything of it. Whatever. A couple weeks go past, and I come back from a part-time job. Another I forget what, I don't remember if it was a movie or whatever, and the family member goes, hey, you go grab the stuff out of the freezer, we'll make some food, whatever. And I said sure. And so I went and grabbed it, and as I was coming out of that room, the furnace room was across from me, and like I'm walking out of that room, and as I look at the first room, like I see someone leaned on their knees, like leaning into like the furnace. And I was like real confused. And then like they stood up and turned, scared the shit out of me because I thought someone was in the house.
Yeah.
And like they came to check, and like there was nothing. Like they're like, whatever, you're being crazy. And then like I slept on their couch, which was down the hall from that furnace room. And then like I started having trouble sleeping because I kept swearing at night. I was hearing like noises, like walking in the hallway. Started getting super uncomfortable. And like they're like, oh, they're like, don't say anything to anybody, don't just scare anybody. It's like you're just over exaggerating, like you're just spooked. It's nothing. So I decided, like, because like I wasn't sleeping, I didn't like it. So I decided, well, I'm just gonna like wrap this up early. Like I'm not gonna like I only had a couple weeks left that I was supposed to stay. They didn't really need me anymore. So I was like, I'm just gonna leave. There's like no reason. So his wife and I was like, hey, I'm like, whatever, wrapping this up. You guys don't really need me. Told his wife. And his wife's like, what? Well, her husband made this joke. Well, thinks the house is haunted. And she was like, why? And so I told her what I saw, and she fucking busted out crying like hard. And I was like, what the fuck? And we thought, oh, she's just scared because I'm claiming there's a ghost in there. She then proceeds to tell a story about how her dad, because she grew up in that house, had mental health issues. And the one day they came home, and he had tried to kill himself by sticking his head in the furnace and breathing in the fumes to suffocate himself. And I have not spent a night or stepped foot in that house since.
So let me ask you this. You said you saw him and he turned around. What happened then? Like he just disappeared?
I like, so his face, I never saw a face. It like I saw like the shadow, like it was like, because it was dark in there. Like I saw the shadow stand up and start to turn. I fucking beat feet because I was like, someone fucking's in the house. And so like I went and got the family. I was like, hey, I was like, there's fucking someone in the fucking furnace room. Because I thought maybe like someone broke in or something, I went back and there's no one there.
Stuck their head in the furnace. You ever think maybe it was just like a hologram? Like maybe it was just Tupac. You know what I mean? He's like
wait, why would Tupac be in the house?
Like his hologram, like you know what I mean? He like turns around. Sure that's just the way it is.
I gotta make sure I understand your theory here, right? Tupac's hologram.
Yeah, Tupac, not actual Tupac, just
right. His hologram. Has it become sentient?
Possibly. I mean, we don't know what
and it's now just going into
we know what
houses?
AI does. Nobody knows what AI does.
That's true. But you're saying Tupac's hologram is just going into people's houses?
Yep.
They're just fucking around.
That's makes as much sense as what you just told me. So,
fair enough. Hey, listen. Hey, you can make fun of me. You don't believe me?
No, I don't. Like I said,
happened.
I mean, I've never experienced anything like that. So, in all actuality, like I don't know what to believe because I've just never experienced. Shit's weird. We don't know anything about anything. We've been on the face of the earth. If you hold your arm out, right, from your shoulder to your right to your cuticle is how long or from the shoulder to the end of your finger. Let's say that's how long the earth has been around. We've been on the earth the span of your fingernail. Like we don't know anything about anything. And anybody who thinks that they know fucking shit about anything, we don't. We don't fucking know anything. We are still monkeys in the grand scope of the universe. We don't know anything about anything. It's possible that there's other dimensions. It's possible that ghosts are real. It's possible that when you die, you don't really die. You just go to this other place. Who knows? Like, who knows?
Right.
We just don't know. So, it's one of those. So I'm not. All I do know is this documentary was a piece of shit. That's all I know.
I
So,
told you this. Uh, I so this actually got a lot of reviews
yeah,
when it first came out, high reviews. Then some allegations started going because a lot of look at these reviews, especially on sites like IMDb and stuff. They realized, wait a minute, all these 10-star reviews are done by people who's never left another review.
yeah,
So now there's
yeah.
allegations that the studio paid for, or maybe
Probably. I mean,
paid for fake views. Um, it's not it's not very well received now. It's not good.
mm-mm.
What's crazy is I almost wish someone would have just, instead of like doing all the bullshit with like fighting demons at the end with a camera and shit,
Yeah.
do a real documentary. Like show us those documents. Like show us.
That's what well, that's what got me about this is the fact that they tried to overlay all this nonsense in here that just detracted from an already ridiculous story. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like you can't add weird camera edits and all this stuff to a story that you're already having a
Right.
hard time believing, because then it just doesn't make it makes even less sense, and it makes it a joke is what it does.
Right. And like what's crazy too is this movie, like at one point they were talking to, like they had on her on a Zoom call, the actual child protective services agent, the first one, and they're like, "You were there." She was like, "Yes," and then they never talked to her again. They don't show any footage
Right,
from
that's
her.
what I'm saying. Like there was so much of that shit where they like vaguely reference something, but then never, I mean, they didn't provide any solid evidence or follow through as to what was that.
Right.
And like I said, the only people they did interview didn't have anything real to say. There was
Right.
no like, it was all just nonsense. Everything that was taped on camera from these people didn't really have anything to do with anything. They're just like,
Right.
and like it was so bad. It was
And the
so
best
bad.
part was the what possibly may be the worst reenactments I have
Right,
ever
yeah,
seen.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
they
for
had
sure.
these child actors who were like pretending to be possessed, and like it all looked like someone was like just act goofy. They're just like, ugh.
Yeah, right. And that's once again, so that detracted. We didn't need to see a reenactment of somebody acting like that.
Right.
We just didn't need to happen. Like you could have just said it and then interviewed the people or showed the documents that say, hey, that yeah, this kid walked up the wall, instead of showing a weird graphic of him walking up the wall backwards.
Right. Not like weird dumb picture. Like I was
Yeah.
just I'm telling you, like I follow this case in real time. When this was
Mhm.
all happening, it was on the news, and like I remember there's like I think it's I forget what the channel was on Reddit. Like everybody was posting updates about it. It was getting
Mhm.
crazy. And like I remember, and then like when they announced they're doing this, I was like, man, I was like Zack Baggens from Ghost Adventures, the Ghost Bro. But I was like, man, but I was like, there's so much crazy evidence and stuff with this. Like it could be
Right.
different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine me. I was living, I'll tell you, like we knew each other when this came out.
Mhm.
I was in that apartment in Frick Park.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And it was right.
I feel like there were some demons living around there. That's
for,
for sure.
for sure. And like I got like when they announced it was out, I ran home like, oh man, I'm gonna watch it while I eat. And, like I made my dinner, paid my $3 to rent it, and then like I played it. And when it was over, I went, oh, what
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fuck?
You've been had.
Let me ask you this, right?
Okay.
Should we become ghost hunters?
Maybe. I mean, if this guy can do it,
But like
I don't even know
maybe
how do you even get into that business? Like
you just do
I
it.
don't how do you break into ghost hunting,
You just do it.
I mean, are these
There's
people like
clubs. There's like actual
really?
organizations you can join.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
fuck it, we'll just start around.
Yeah. All right. Loremasters of Absurd Inc.
Lord Masters Absurd
Who
Inc.
are you gonna call?
But the difference between us and everywhere else is like we legit, like you legit go and be like, this is all bullshit. I'm
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
let's see. And
Mhm.
then probably about halfway through, I go, yeah, this is fucking stupid.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Until something happens that makes us both go, "Hmm?"
I mean, and like I said, I can honestly say like I've never really like, aside from actually the story you just told me, I've never really talked to anybody about
Oh, really?
a ghost or whatever the situation. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man.
like yeah.
I've
So I mean, I like I said, I don't I say a bunch of weird random shit, but for sure, like I don't know. I mean, I've never experienced it, so I can't. I
I,
mean,
I
I've had like that weird thing like where you get like a chill and you get
Yeah,
scared,
right.
but that's just
Being
fear. What?
human.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Because I'll say like there's like some of those EVPs can be real creepy. I've heard some like real creepy
Mhm.
ones that make you go like, what the fuck? Like
You know what
so
the problem is with like those is if you ever so there's this comedian, I forget his name, but he basically like plays a bunch of popular songs. And when you hear a song, right, and you hear something and you think that's what it is,
right.
but then you like somebody tells you what it actually is, and then you listen to it again and you hear it again. Those are all subjective. Like
Right.
it just really is. Like there's numerous like examples of like listening to something and you thinking it's one thing or but being told it's another, like that thing where I was on Facebook or something, they play you listen to a word and then you have to pick what you heard, you know
Yeah,
what I mean,
right.
and like there's like 5 different things and everybody hears something different, you know what I mean. So that's why, like, I mean that's why I don't really put a lot of stock in those, because it could be just noise or interference, you know what I mean, like
Right. No,
so.
fair enough. That's fair point. That's why I think we should be ghost hunters.
Right. Well, yeah. Maybe we'll do it up.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
listen, anybody listening, if you have a haunted place, just let's come for the night.
Yeah. Let us know.
Let us check it out. We'll
Mhm.
be the judge. All right. Uh, Maybe we're the guys to finally
Mhm.
crack the code.
That's possible. I mean, you know, I might just be just cynical enough,
I'm
to
just saying, like,
make the ghosts
maybe
upset.
that's the new goal, right? Is you need everybody listening. You need to help me convince Jeff. Maybe there's more to it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am not beyond I'm not closed minded, right?
Okay.
If I am presented with compelling evidence on anything, really,
Yeah.
I will observe the evidence and I will make a decision about it. So far, I have not been presented with any
So
evidence.
that's the new goal then. Present you some evidence. That's
Yep. Mm-hmm.
okay. All right. I'm gonna do it.
And
I'm
that
gonna
goes
convince
for
you.
anything you want to make me believe in.
So
Present
aliens.
some evidence. Aliens, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. Cryptids like Bigfoot.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Any of that doesn't matter.
What about Demon House?
So far, I have not
Because
been presented with any evidence.
because at the end of the documentary, they say that, hey, like the police say, even though the house tore down, and it's a dirt lot, that people are reporting that people go and have satanic rituals there, which I thought was odd.
Because you just tore the house down, and supposedly there's a gateway to hell in that they even say that. They
Yeah.
literally say that dirt patch. They're like, right after, they're like, it's necromancy. Like they're like it's a gateway to hell. And I'm like, okay, so you just tear the house down and the gateway's still there. That doesn't do anything.
Right.
Like, yeah.
And then I looked online, and apparently the they asked the police, and the police have received multiple reports of people out there performing rituals.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously, because it's a famous site now, so
Right.
it's and there's a lot of people that believe in demonology and
Right.
Satanism and that kind of stuff. So
I'm just
you do
saying,
you.
maybe too bad we weren't where we were now.
Mm-hmm.
Lore masters of the absurd. Or I
Yeah.
was gonna say Lord Masters of everything, but
Yeah.
we could have been the ones to get that house to Zack Baggens.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, I mean,
I think you could fight a
we
ghost.
could have at a very minimum been on this show. I mean,
Yeah, it's
been on
true.
his, been on
Like
his.
you know what,
We
Mister,
should send him a letter. We should. Can we? We need to follow him on Instagram.
and be like,
Yeah.
hey, bro,
Hey,
take
Zachy
us on
B,
a ghost hunting trip.
with your
Try to convince this guy.
girl with kaleidoscope eyes.
Hey, it's not funny, man. A demon gave him some kind of eye disease.
Gave him the old fucking.
We talked about it. It's kind of like a stage,
Yeah.
knocking people off their bikes, making people slip on ice,
Sticking fingers up butts.
thinking figure like messing with someone's prostate.
He did the old thumb on the ass, like when you're in wrestling and just like.
Oh man, that's crazy. Oh my god, I don't know. Like I was so excited when I was like, you're like, yeah, we'll just watch it, talk about it. Like,
Well,
I
I'm
don't
just
think
saying,
he knows
was
what he's
it
asking.
was it worth losing your privileges for the next 3 months? Would it
Oh, it
worth
was
it?
because like now since I know you're like I'm receptive to any evidence,
Mm-hmm. I
I got a
am.
new
I mean,
goal.
like I said, I'm an
I got a new
open-minded
goal.
fella, but I also will refute to the best of my
Oh,
ability
that's
anything
hey,
you put
I dig
against
it. No, that's what I want.
me.
But my goal is to find a compelling piece of evidence for you.
Okay.
Just a one piece of evidence make you go, hmm.
Hmm.
Now, apparently, it wasn't anything in this movie.
Well, no, no. Well, like I said, what you said that actually happened, not
Right,
that would, there's actual documentation of an
right.
exorcist being performed and the social workers, um, filling out forms of this kid walking
Yeah,
out. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's weird. You know what I mean? There has
right.
to be some sort of something to it. I don't that there's I can't necessarily think of an explanation for the walking up the wall. That's like a weird thing,
Yeah, right,
especially if you're saying like nobody was like holding on to him or you know what I mean,
right,
because if somebody's like holding you like this and like trying to calm him down and then he starts walking,
right.
you know what I mean? Like, but if that's not the situation, which
It's a different story.
different story. So,
Man, that's my life goal now. To
mhm.
find you some evidence. Can I how do we wrap up here though? I thought I'd do something a little interesting for you.
Okay,
Because I knew that you weren't really gonna like this movie.
that's weird. Okay.
Like I knew you weren't really gonna like it. I knew it was gonna anger you, right? I knew you were gonna I didn't realize that the way it presented it, you thought it was fake for half
I
the movie.
did. This movie like got me through all 7 stages of grief. You know what I
Give me five.
mean? Five stages of grief. Finally at the end, it was like I accepted the fact that I just wasted 2 hours of my life. You know.
I but there's one review when I read it. I was like, man,
Yeah.
and it's a lot different than how you feel about this movie.
Oh wow, Jesus.
It's a 10 out of 10, which
Okay.
just so you know, this movie's received many 10 out of 10s. But like we said,
Yeah, it's
maybe
probably
some allegations of some fake reviews. The title of the review is Speechless, a must see.
all right.
Zack outdid himself. This documentary will get you hooked from the start and keep you at the edge of your seat throughout the whole film. I've never seen a documentary like this before. This isn't Hollywood. This is the real thing.
Is that the whole review?
That is the like one of the highest rated reviews.
That's his mom for sure. Like, you know what I mean? Well, Zach, he made such a good movie. That's this person's an idiot. They're the dumbest person on that could possibly ever watch this movie is that person. Like, because I don't know how. Like, even if you like this, I don't. There's no possible way that you can be like, this is like. There's no possible way. Even the production value isn't as high as something like Unsolved Mysteries, or you know what I mean. Like, it just the reenactments were awful. Like, it was just.
Well, you know what? Like you think that, right?
Mhm.
Let me tell you this review. Title is amazing. Can't stop watching. Absolutely loved this documentary. Have watched it 3 times already. Can't get enough. Zack has made this a well researched and unbiased film that I think will even make skeptics think twice. The young girl broke my heart while the cameraman scared the bejesus out of me. I know some won't understand or believe, but I, for one, do. I had to remind myself to breathe more than once. I'll say it again. I loved it. Thank you, Zack and crew.
At what point was this
Well done.
At what point was this well researched? That's what I'd like to know. Where did that come in? Because if he researched it, he didn't tell anybody in his documentary about it. It literally looked like he Googled this and then started making a documentary about it. You know what I mean? That's
He
what it
bought
seemed
the
like.
house.
Yeah.
Like I just can't believe like you don't agree with any of this.
No.
I mean, there are pages. There's one person here that say they would give it 20 out of 10 if they could.
Well, that's the demon for sure.
Oh, this is the last one I'll read you because I think this one,
Okay.
like, none of them are as high as this one. I can't believe I didn't see it originally. None of them are as high as this one. Title of this one is Best documentary I have ever seen. Ever. I highly recommend this film. It's an amazing story with equally amazing evidence and footage. Zack is extremely brave for making this film. It's a great wake-up call for the world. These things really do happen. You definitely need to see this, especially if you don't already believe.
I can't even. I'm done. I'm done with this one.
Fair enough. So, you know what?
I just want to say that I don't have a lot of faith in humanity to begin with.
Right.
And like stuff like this just chips it away a little more every time. Like just, you know.
All right. Well, Jeff, I know this is a little bit different. This is outside of our zone. We typically do. But I just have to ask, would you recommend anybody else to watch this?
No, this should be destroyed. Yeah, this all these the server that this is housed on should just be wiped clean, and every copy. Did they release a physical? Probably not. It should be just wiped off the face.
I'm sure there's physical copies.
Yeah.
I mean, Zack Baggens has a big museum in Vegas. I bet you he sells copies there.
Really?
Yeah. He has a museum of all the haunted stuff he's collected. Except for the stuff in this movie.
It's like in a storage shed. You just go in the storage shed.
You go just kick around a little bit.
Yeah. I'd like to actually see that just like next time we're in Vegas. So I have to visit Zack Baggens.
Yeah.
You see him.
Apparently he collects a lot of haunted items.
Mm-hmm.
And this museum is full of it.
Something's full of it.
Hey, listen, guy, a demon hurt his eyes, gave his doctor friend organ failure, gave his house inspector cancer, tried to kill a girl, knocked a sheriff friend over, knocked a preacher off a bike.
Yeah. Push that preacher right down. That's probably the rudest thing you could possibly do. Like, not only did he push somebody off the bike, he pushed the priest off the bike.
And made his cameraman friend get into some dark stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well,
just saying. All right, cool. Well, I think we'll wrap up there. I think we've given everybody enough to think about. Hopefully, they're able to sleep tonight.
Well, I mean, if you want a good scare, watch this, I guess.
Yeah. I was gonna say, were you scared at all?
No.
There was not one part of this movie you're like, whoa, a little uncomfortable.
No, literally not one part.
No, did you watch it in the dark?
No, I just watched it in my office today.
And you're like, nope.
Yeah, no.
All right, fair enough. Well, hey, if you enjoyed that, make sure you follow us wherever you listen to your podcast. Keep listening. We decided we're going through our experimental phase. We're going to do some weird stuff here.
Actually, whatever we want. So
yeah, pretty much whatever we want.
What do we got going on for next week?
Well, I especially now since I found out that you're looking for some evidence, I think we might talk about some unsolved mysteries.
There we go.
See if I can convince you of some mysteries.
That's cool.
Yeah.
See what happens.
See what happens. So I think that's what we're going to do next week. So make sure you follow, listen wherever you listen to your podcast. You can also check us out on YouTube, watch episodes there. Subscribe, follow, hit the bell, do whatever you do on YouTube. Leave us 5-star reviews on everything because, listen, Jeff just fought a demon for you. Okay. He watched a documentary that Zack Baggens himself said is cursed. Jeff watched it. He didn't let no demon enlarge his prostate.
That's true. He's not coming after me.
They coming after Jeff. Sure. So I think that deserves a 5-star review.
Mm-hmm.
Leave us a comment.
Why is all these rubber gloves laying around here?
Even with these gloves. Leave us a comment if you listen to us on Apple Podcast, YouTube. Tell us some places you think we should start ghost hunting because I think
we're gonna start doing it.
I think we should start doing it. You can also follow us on Facebook and on Instagram at Loremaster. Follow me on Instagram at Loremaster Eli. Jeff, where can they follow you?
Loremaster Jeff on Instagram.
On the Instagrams. And remember, everybody, don't play in the dirt under your stairs or demon will touch your prostate.
That's good advice, no matter who you are.
That's good. It blows right up there. Don't spit in the wind.
Yeah. Yep. Don't tug on Superman's cape.
Don't tug on Superman's cape. Never play cards against somebody who's sitting with for a name.
Yeah. Don't play in the dirt under your basement steps
Yep.
unless you want a demon to stick his finger up
Yep.
your butt and enlarge your prostate.
Don't ride your bike around a demon; he'll knock you down.
Don't ride your bike around.
Don't step on ice around a demon; he'll knock
Yeah.
you down.
Yeah.
You know, don't board yourself up with cheap plywood in a demon house, or he'll force you to break a camera.
If you don't have a blurry camera around a demon. That's for sure.
He will not stand for it.
Don't call his cell phone either. He don't like that.
He don't like none of that nonsense.
Yeah.
You come talk to face to face in his dirt pile.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to him. Don't
under
call him
the
remotely.
steps, which it seemed like people just threw junk back here because there's really no way to get under the
Kids
steps.
just threw their stuff under there, like they're just like,
yeah,
nope, that's not what happened.
hey, I'm not
it?
the
It was
I'm
the
not
necromancy.
master of magnetism, so I don't know how it works.
Necromancy did it.
Necromagnetism.
Yeah, necromagnetism.
Necromagnetism. Oh, we should become necromagnetismness.
I'm a necromagnetism. Necromagnamancer. Yeah,
like necromagnamancer.
Like, what would you just like? Bones would be attracted to you. I don't know, like what.
I assume you just glue magnets on like dead stuff.
Oh yeah,
and I just stick it to metal. You know.
Yeah.
Look at this dead gopher on this pole.
Necromagnomancer. Yeah, necromagnamancer. Yep.
That's what it's all about, people.
Mm-hmm.
Necromagnamancy.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.